You are listening to Reverend Insanity by Xuan, translated and edited by For the Love of Gu. If you enjoyed listening, make sure to like and subscribe to receive updates when new episodes come out.
Chapter 207. The Fang Yuan Divine Rooster. Time flowed like water, and during the course of over half a month, Ning had slimmed down visibly, but she was now giving off a sense of strength and determination. Her piercing blue eyes, beaming with starlights, squinted as she scanned the surroundings. It could not be denied that the life of a vagabond struggling in the wilderness had taught her many things. Though not speaking, Ning had yet to accept defeat, this Fang Yuan knew for sure. She was hungry for knowledge, trying her best to learn and adapt. At times she would even come to him with her own questions, which, though simplistic, was showing how much she had grown. Seeing Ning making new progress every single day, Fang Yuan knew that he was in for the long haul, as the true demon's rebellious nature would not have made it an easy task. After the sun had fully set, under the protection of the night, the two of them quietly walked out from hiding among the bushes, eyes kept staring straight down at the mountain valley where a giant crocodile was sleeping. Measuring at 3 elephants stacked on top of each other tall, the fiery red crocodile was massive, with its tail gleaming like a deadly weapon. However, the most unique feature on the great beast was a pair of volcanoes growing on its back, puffing out black smoke every time the creature exhaled.
This lava croc is a 1,000-beast king. It would be a lot of risk trying to kill it.
Ning was concerned, and for good reason, as 1,000-beast kings often had symbiotic goo bugs living on their bodies. Pairing that with their supreme bestial physical strength, and a 1,000-beast king could easily face rank 3 goo master in a one-on-one combat.
Only from the midst of danger can there be great reward. It is not easy finding any crocodiles this deep in the forest. Crocodile strength goo needs crocodile meat to stay alive, which we only have half left. Let's try to see how things go first.
While most of its kind preferred to live underground, the 1,000-beast king Lava Croc enjoyed fresh air and sunlight, often coming to the surface to sunbathe. Ning carefully approached the sleeping beast king, but just as she got within 50 steps away, it opened its eyes. Two streams of searing hot air were pouring out from the beast king's nostrils. Even with the heaven canopy goose protection on, Ning could still feel the blistering heat wave hitting her face. The big croc was still sleepy, groggily adjusting its big head. Not getting any closer, Ning shot a bloody moonblade at its back. The rank 3 moonblade barely scratched off a scale, but managed to anger the sleepy giant. Aiming right at her, the Lava Croc King opened its enormous mouth and discharged a blazing lava fireball the size of a small boulder stone. Unwilling to face the deadly attack head-on, Ning quickly dodged to the side. The red-hot fireball drew an arc in mid-air before hitting the rocky mountain cliff. A thundering explosion sent debris flying and set the whole mountain ablaze. Black smoke shot straight to the skies before slowly dissipating into the atmosphere, resembling a small mushroom cloud. The center of the explosion was now a huge crater, with fresh flowing lava still cooling down.
Rank 3 lava explosion goo.
Later, from the top of the cliff, Fang Yuan tossed down a rope and pulled Ning up. The Lava Croc King growled several times, but did not chase after them. Once Fang Yuan and Ning's figures had disappeared from its vision, the Beast King returned to enjoying its sunbath. As most of her attacks were for assessment purposes, the Lava Croc King had yet to consider Ning a real threat and only shooed her away, just like it would to any other random animals that wandered into its territory.
This Lava Croc King has 3 symbiotic goo bugs in total, a lava explosion goo, a flame pillar goo, and an ash aggregation goo. They are all rank 3 goo bugs, covering from offense, defense to healing, the 3 basics.
Fang Yuan told Ning as they were leaving the valley. Having just faced the great beast herself, she frowned, knowing full well that it would be near impossible to defeat this thousand-beast king.
Lava explosion goo aside, the flame pillar goo's defense is too strong for blood moon goo to penetrate. The only thing that could get through would be the coarse blade golden centipede hitting in close range, but even if I were to use it to break through the flame pillar goo's defense, the golden centipede would be done for. It had already suffered lots of damages. Not to mention, the Lava Crocodile King would still be able to heal itself with the ash aggregation goo. With the Beast King's strength and stamina, it would be unwise to aim for a prolonged battle. More importantly, it could always dig itself underground, then we would have no way of stopping it from running.
Your argument is well reasoned, but it only makes me want to do it more. Ash aggregation goo, as its name suggests, relies on burnt ash for food, so it is very easy to feed. Without a doubt, it is the most suitable goo bug for us right now.
Goo bugs are good, but you must be alive to benefit from them. You may have the yang goo, but I would not risk my life for you.
When your strength is insufficient, you must use your head. If we can trick the Lava Crocodile King into fighting with other beast kings living nearby, we can then sit tight and play fisherman.
Fang Yuan said, unwilling to give up, as it was his favorite thing to create workarounds for impossible challenges. Most animals, unless just newly arrived, would have been aware of their territorial border and avoided conflicts with surrounding neighbors. The Lava Crocodile King, however, was not the same. Living most of its life underground, this thousand-beast king only sometimes came up for fresh air, so its presence was not well known among surface dwellers. To them, the Lava Crocodile King was nothing more than a trespasser. Aside from exceptions such as the wily electric hyena, most beast kings were low in intelligence and could not refrain from attacking when they felt threats coming from an equal. Once both sides had suffered great losses, Fang Yuan and Bai Ning could swoop in to loot the burning house. Bai Ning's eyes sparkled when she heard the plan. She nodded.
We have no mobility goo, so this plan remains highly dangerous, but it's worth a try.
Not much different from human society, wild beasts also had their own territories, with strong beast kings leading their herds to occupy places rich with natural resources, the same way humans formed tribes around primeval springs. The two teenagers then used the Lava Crocodile King as the center and spent 5 days scouting the area surrounding its valley. As they came from the northwest, that direction needed no further examination. Just beyond the valley to the southeast, the two of them found a white ape's tribe. The old leader was a thousand-beast king. Given that these apes were incredibly fast and could get them surrounded, Fang Yuan and Bai Ning both chose not to do anything here. Going southwest to the Lava Crocodile King's valley, they then found a stinking rotten swamp, a world belonging to toxic creatures, crawling with snakes, poison bees, and spiders. From the center of the swamp came a thundering ribbit which Fang Yuan concluded must have been coming from the ruler of the swamp, a healing goo called the toxin's guzzling toad. The pocket-sized rank 4 goo fed on poisons and venoms. If a goo master were poisoned, they could use it to suck the toxin out, thus achieving the detox effect. The toad was slow, but it lived at the very heart of the swamp, effectively snuffing out any hope of capturing it. Without healing goo bug, Fang Yuan and Bai Ning could not risk entering the toxic swamp to find a pocket-sized toad. They finally turned to the northeast corner and found a beehive the size of a house, where a terrifyingly massive swarm of frenzied needle bees resided. This one was even more challenging because once a frenzied needle bee became a goo, its sting would have piercing ability. Even if Bai Ning were to use the Heaven Canopy goo, its protection would still be punctured by their rank 3 needles. At night, the light from their campfire flickered, as the cave they found for the night was open-ended, so a gust of wind constantly blew air from one opening to the other, making it very cold at night. There were holes on the ceiling, and one could see the stars shining above. Fang Yuan and Bai Ning sat quietly by the fire, and while his expression was blank, hers was filled with disappointments.
We have spent days scouting the area. Your idea was great, but there was no appropriate target. Seems to me, our only choice is to give up on this Lava Croc King.
Men can make plans, but success is decided by the heavens. There are many things in life where you can only rely on luck. I was hoping we could take care of the crocodile strength goo's needs, but now it is unrealistic to even try to go after the Lava Croc King. Tomorrow we will get back on our journey to Baigu Mountain.
Fang Yuan reluctantly nodded when suddenly from outside came the Lava Croc King's furious growl.
What happened?
It's that Lava Croc King.
They both gave each other a quick glance, and immediately got outside only to see that on the other side of the valley, the night sky was lit up with a glaring kaleidoscope of rainbow-colored lights raining down upon the rising flames. In the midst of the multicolor brilliance was a majestic rooster the size of a small mountain, its regal crown shining like gold, its feathers iridescent, constantly shifting between colors, giving off a surreal aura.
Not good. That's a Xian Yuan divine rooster, myriad beasts king-level bird of prey. The Lava Croc King is in trouble.
Xian Yuan divine rooster?
It's a solitary myriad beasts king. These things spend most of their time flying high up in the sky, only rarely dropping down to the ground for food. Their bodies are hosts to all sorts of rainbow goo, so when they fight, there are dazzling 5-color or 7-color lights. The Lava Croc King is done for. Hurry! Get inside. The rooster's eyesight is as good as hawk's. If it sees us, we will be in big trouble.
Fang Yuan said, quickly retreating back into the cave. Biting her lips, Ning followed right behind. Chapter 208. Escape. An hour later, the Lava Croc King cried out one last time before going silent completely. From their cave, Ning and Fang Yuan could hear every sound of the Xian Yuan divine rooster pecking its food. However, the body of one Lava Croc King was not enough to satisfy the big rooster's enormous appetite. That night, Fang Yuan and Ning didn't sleep, constantly listening to the sounds of apes howling, bees buzzing and toads rib-biting, though the most disturbing sounds of them all was undoubtedly the thundering screeches from the divine rooster itself. It was not until dawn that the Xian Yuan divine rooster finally flew away, leaving behind a colorful rainbow arc in its wake. Only after the last trail of the rainbow had disappeared from the sky did Fang Yuan and Ning dare to come out from their cave. Looking down at the valley, they could hardly recognize the landscape anymore. There, the once fearsome Lava Croc King lay dead on the ground, its belly pried open, most of its flesh and internal organs gone, leaving behind only a bare skeleton to hold up the hollow red skin. The two of them searched the body and quickly found the shattered remains of the flame pillar goo. As part of the Lava Croc King's defense, it was crushed by the Xian Yuan divine rooster. The other two goo, lava explosion goo and ash aggregation goo, were nowhere to be found. Since their host had died, all of the fallen Beast King's goo bugs must then go on looking for a new home. Though the ash aggregation goo was indeed the perfect healing goo bug that Fang Yuan needed at the moment, things didn't go as planned, which was the more common thing in life. That was not to say they were without rewards. On the mangled carcass of the Lava Croc King, there was enough meat left to scavenge, so Fang Yuan and Ning spent that entire morning carving the meat into portions to be stored in the two-seater flour.
There's enough meat here to keep the crocodile strength goo fed for another 3 months. Come on, let's go.
They then moved on to the ape tribe's territory. Only yesterday the dense forest was lush and filled with laughter. Now it stood in devastation, filled with nothing but fallen trees and torn limbs. The survivors, mostly composed of sick, cripples, seniles, and minors, were crying their hearts out. Last night the Xian Yuan divine rooster had visited this place, and now the tribe whose population once ranged in the thousands was reduced to just around 200 to 300. Seeing that the few hundred beast kings remaining were all badly injured, Ning couldn't help but have sparkles beaming in her eyes.
Now is the time these apes are at their weakest. Should we attack?
To her surprise, Fang Yuan said no, though it was not an act of mercy but rather of experience, knowing full well that cornered animals were the fiercest.
Desperation makes the most docile creatures savage. We need not mess with these apes. If we do, they will undoubtedly fight back to the death. These remaining 100 beast kings might be injured, but they're not something you can expect to fight single-handedly.
Bai Ning Bing was reluctant, but eventually gave up on her plan to attack the ape tribe. The two of them then turned southwest, heading for the toxic swamp. The Fang Yuan divine rooster had laid this place to waste, pushing the natural equilibrium far off balance. Factions of creatures living in the swamp were then forced to redefine their territories, resulting in a bloody power grab that went on for long after the divine rooster had left. Sticking only to the edge of the swamp, Fang Yuan and Bai Ning Bing had had the chance to witness several encounters between the toxic swamp's natives. First was a battle of the snakes, both vividly colored. One managed to swallow the other one whole, but it was not long before the victor was stung dead by a scorpion passing by. The second encounter was between a toxic pollen butterfly and an eerie-colored blue toad. It happened within moments. The toad retracted its tongue and snatched the butterfly into its belly. Not long after, the butterfly died from suffocation, but the toad was also poisoned to death. Third, they saw a huge black spider the size of a stone mill grinder crawling out from the mud, maniacally rolling around, clearly in pain and disoriented. It was covered with ants. Shortly after, the ants defeated their larger foe and consumed the unfortunate spider right on the spot. After witnessing such sights at the swamp, both Fang Yuan and Bai Ning Bing decided that it was best not to go any further in. They then headed to where the frenzied needle bees used to live, only to see that the hive was completely destroyed. It was deadly silent, with no bee in sight. As they got closer, Bai Ning Bing could smell an aroma not much different from roasted sesame.
What's that smell?
It's the beehives. Frenzied needle bees do not make honey, but their hives are top-tier material for goo refinement. It can also be used as a food source humans can eat directly.
Fang Yuan broke a piece off and took a bite, then casually chewed as Bai Ning Bing watched closely with great suspicion. The flavor reminded him of the taste of cookies from Earth, fragrant and buttery, but was undoubtedly better.
This is not bad at all.
Bai Ning Bing also took a bite and immediately her brows relaxed, highly impressed by the delicious flavors.
We are almost out of cured meat and dried biscuits. You should get this stored in the two-seed flour.
That's what I'm thinking too, but we have to move, quick.
You're worrying that the smell of blood from the Lava Crocodile King and the white ape tribe may attract other predators? Just chill, there's no wind today, so it will be more than enough time for us to get away before any beast arrives.
Fang Yuan shook his head, about to say something when suddenly his expression changed. Hearing buzzing sounds, Bai Ning Bing looked up and saw a terrifying dark cloud made entirely of countless frenzied needle bees heading straight for them. Although the Fang Yuan divine rooster had taken down their hive and devoured the most tasty core, the bees did not suffer much loss. After all, to the great rooster, these insects were merely a nuisance, so it did not bother to exterminate such insignificant little pests. The fairly unintelligent frenzied needle bees, however, were persistent on going after the destroyer of their home, so they chased after the mighty bird of prey all the way up until it had flown beyond their reach. The bees were left with no choice but to go back and rebuild their home, only to see these two jackasses standing there, eating what was left of it. Without a moment of hesitation, the frenzied needle bees rained down in fury. All of their anger meant for the Fang Yuan divine rooster was now diverted to Fang Yuan and Bai Ning Bing.
Why are you not running yet?
Already turned around and started running, Fang Yuan screamed at the stunned Bai Ning Bing. The frenzied needle bees were right at their backs, hell-bent on catching up. Neither of them had any mobility goo bug, so the bees soon caught up with her. Bai Ning Bing activated Heaven Canopy Goo, just in time before the onslaught of flying insects hit. The white light armor flickered, having to withstand over 1,000 collisions within seconds. It was no different from an arrow shower commonly used in traditional warfare, and while her armor remained intact, Bai Ning Bing's primeval essence was being drained rapidly. To make matters worse, some of these frenzied needle bees had developed into goo. Rank 3 frenzied needle bee goo had piercing ability, so they could penetrate even the Heaven Canopy Goo's armor. Just in a short amount of time, Bai Ning Bing's back had gained several bleeding puncture holes. Motivated by the searing pain, she pushed herself to run faster, and before she realized it, she was running faster than ever before. At this speed, objects appeared as if they were speeding toward her instead of her running toward them. Bai Ning Bing had to use all of her mental power to focus on dodging all of the incoming obstacles, knowing full well that a single mistake could cause a fatal trip and fall, or allowing the bees to catch up. Thanks to her attracting most of the attacks, Fang Yuan, on the other hand, was in much better condition. As a result of the dorsal armor goo's effect, the skin on his back thickened and became squamous like crocodile skin, completely impenetrable by regular frenzied needle bees. 15 minutes later, the bees were still going strong while the two humans were panting hard and slowing down.
We're saved! There's a lake up ahead.
Just as the situation was about to go dire, Fang Yuan shouted. Bai Ning Bing was overjoyed. She could see the blue shimmer of water sparkles just beyond the tree line. As they got out of the forest, there was a big lake, which they both jumped in without any hesitation. The frenzied needle bees, true to their names, were not intimidated by water. Their bodies were sturdy and could survive being in water and could crawl themselves out as long as it was not too deep. The needle shower hit Bai Ning Bing and resulted in what otherwise could have been described as a cacophony of high-speed collisions if it were to happen on land. Biting her lips to suppress the pain, Bai Ning Bing quickly swam toward the deep end. A long time later, far away from where they had jumped into the lake, Fang Yuan and Bai Ning Bing finally emerged. The water had washed away the smell of beehives from their bodies. Without their targets, the bees became very frustrated and kept shooting themselves into the lake to vent their anger.
Damn it!
Bai Ning Bing cursed, still stricken by fear, her expression serious. Of all the predicaments they faced, be it the Xian Yuan divine rooster, the ape tribe, or the frenzied needle bees, none were problems that she could have handled by herself. If the divine rooster had seen her last night, there would have been a whole new meaning to the phrase chicken dinner. Here, out in the wilderness, rank 3s were merely the bottom of the food chain.
I've had enough. When will we reach Baigu Mountain?
Shush, quiet.
Fang Yuan's expression was serious. He squatted down and touched something with his hands. It was charcoal and ash, made into the shape of what appeared to be a discreet campfire. Bai Ning Bing frowned. These were undoubtedly signs of humans.